with some of the other Tier 8 non-turreted staples, such as the other German tank destroyer, the mighty Ferdinand, the recently buffed American T-28, the ever-so-amazing ISU-152, and the French connoisseur, the AMX ACMLE 48. Starting right away with the gun, the Jagdpanther 2 is one of those machines where you really will only feel the real power of it once you manage to fully upgrade it. After getting that 128mm Top Gun, however, suddenly you will be a real force to be reckoned with, and your average damage per game will go up drastically. Looking at the DPM, you are not far behind the ISU's Doom Cannon actually, and although the values on that gun are absolutely ludicrous, with 246mm of pen and 490 average damage, you can't really complain either. Combine this with their good rate of fire of over 5 rounds a minute and a very good accuracy of 0.34 meters with good secondary dispersion values on top, and you will find that realizing your DPM is absolutely possible for once. When you can put yourself in a strong position and can keep that gun singing, this thing can rack up damage amazingly quickly, ripping through most of its opposition. And when you have to face some of those thick-skinned Tier 9 and Tier 10 beasts, your APCR shells with 311mm will mostly do the job, no problem. Your aim time with 2.2 seconds is absolutely fine as well, so there aren't too many bad things that you can say about this gun really. Alright, maybe a few, but nothing terrible. First of all, you only have 6 degrees of gun depression. It's not great, but it's still absolutely workable. You also have a bit limited gun arc of 20 degrees only, which again is not fantastic but rather average for your competition as well, and once again, you can make it work. Pretty solid gun then. Moving on to the mobility, this is definitely another strong point of this machine, and one of the main reasons why so many people prefer this thing to the Ferdinand. It's actually in a lot of aspects more agile than the French competition, which says a lot. Your top speed of 55 km per hour is the best of the bunch, combined with a 13.25 horsepower per ton power to weight ratio. Now this might seem a little bit scary, being more average than good really, but thankfully the excellent terrain resistances mean that this thing actually can get up to a decent speed on its own as well. While it's not light tank levels of agility, it's definitely impressive from a non-turreted tank destroyer, allowing you to get in and out of situations whenever necessary. It's also a great hunter in the second half of the game, and that's again not something that you would generally expect from this type of machine. We did not mention it yet, but do keep in mind that despite the good overall mobility, the reverse speed at 12 km per hour is still bad, so reversing into cover might not be the best of options when shit hits the fan. To give you some good news as well though, your hull traverse at 38 degrees per second is pretty impressive actually, and it will help you a lot keeping your gun pointing towards your target. If you manage to improve this even further with the necessary equipment and skills, you will surprise more than one attacking medium or light when they try to circle you. Next up, it's the protection, and after seeing that you have a great gun and quite good mobility, your expectations are fairly low, I guess. Well, thankfully, that's actually not entirely justified. Alright, well, your health pool with 1150 HP is definitely on the lower side, and just by looking at the stats, 100mm on the front, 60 on the sides and 40 in the rear, the armor profile isn't looking too impressive either. Not all is lost though, especially in the front as there is an impressive amount of angling going on. But let's have a look at the details. Frontally, the hull itself is not that impressive, about 140mm only, even with the angling on your upper plate, and only about 85mm on your lower plate means that most of your opponents will get through with ease here. Your superstructure on the other hand is a different matter entirely. Thanks to some crazy angling, the cheeks on your superstructure equal about 240mm of armor, while your gun mantlet can reach even 500mm of protection in places. There are some minor weak points next to and under the gun, but those are so small that I really wouldn't worry about them. So basically what this means is that really against guns below 240mm of penetration, aka same tier vehicles and below, this thing is actually a tough nut to crack when hulled down, so make sure you abuse it as much as possible. Don't expect the same results though against most tier 9s and up, and of course APCR and heat will ruin your day as usual. Your sides and rear is as advertised, however, with 60mm of armor on the sides and 40 in the rear, so as you would expect, you are very vulnerable to being flanked. When shooting this thing with HE or heat after flanking them, just make sure you avoid the spaced armor that's covering the tracks in the front. Anywhere else, you will be fine. And as for the rest, view range is unfortunately only 360 meters, there's still a solid average though at this tier, while your camo is fairly decent. Right, just to recap then, a very solid punchy gun, good mobility, and armor that actually works if you know against whom to use it. Quite a package then, isn't it? This thing is great for long-range supporting fire in the first half of the battle, and then moving up mid to close range in the second half. Equipment-wise, I used a gun rammer, vents and binoculars on mine, and it seemed to work pretty well, so there is nothing really that I would change in this one exceptionally. As for the crew skills, 6 Sense and Camo, followed by Brothers in Arms, followed by Recon, Snapshot, Clutch Braking, Situational Awareness and Safe Stowage would be my pick. Alright, this was then a very quick look at the Jagdpanther 2. I think it's time to slap it in gear and see what kind of carnage it can do. Alright, so here we are in our Jagdpanther 2, this time around on steps in encounter mode. Now looking at the matchmaking, this is a fairly even spread, and we are top tier, hey! Half of the team is tier 8, and there are quite a few tier 7s and tier 6s that we can literally rip apart. As for the positioning, as I see, we have enough heavies that move to the usual heavy choke point on the west, so I'm moving in to the east to try to defend the cap circle, maybe take some cheeky shots to the enemies moving into place if we will have some spots from that bulldog. Unfortunately though, it seems that he is scouting down from the road, so that means probably we don't have any spots in time for me to take advantage of. Now as per the positioning, the east looks rather weak. There is a very aggressive Cromwell platoon that moves towards already the cap. There is a TVP coming with me and an SU-12244, which is a great thing to have. But that's about it. And the enemy actually has an advantage on medium tanks, so that's slightly concerning. But really, nothing that we shouldn't be able to deal with if we are careful. Wow, that Cromwell platoon really did go all in right in the beginning, and, well, they are just being feasted on by comets right now. And, okay, I think we found the enemy mediums. Holy crap, that's a lot of tanks. Well, that's not exactly a great match for the Cromwells, I would say. I've been a little bit too aggressive there, my friends. FV-4202, making a move on the ridge, and oh yeah, that one definitely hit. I don't really want to hang around here. If those mediums zoom past and playing aggressive, we will be in a lot of trouble very soon. I don't want to abandon the TVP and the SU, but I want to position myself a little bit to the rear, see if I can soften them up from the distance in the beginning. Looking for a good shot for the time being. As I don't find any and the rush is not coming just yet, I come back to see if I can spot anything. And oh, there is actually a comet. Being a little bit cheeky, my friend. Well, hello! That's 128mm of doom for you. Now here is a little push from the enemy team, but the comet goes in completely alone and the others are not being seen, so we can easily exploit that and take that second comet out as well with a single shot. So not a bad start. But there is still a lot more work to be done. That TVP is already on, well, now less than half health. Luckily, The FV4202 receives a big hit, and backup still doesn't seem to be happening, so let's slap the Jagdpanther 2 in gear. Look at how quickly this thing goes. Already at 45 km per hour, and let's assassinate. Now, do we need a slightly higher roll than average? Oh yeah, that will do. FV4202 is out, and the T-34 received a big hit from someone from before, probably the SU. So we can easily take him out now. We could go hull down and that thing would be doomed. Maybe even with the APCR. But let's not waste any time. Just move around the corner and slap him in the face. Now I really want to push this advantage here. There is still an LTTB and the T-20 that haven't been spotted for quite a while. So I am a little bit cautious. It would be really bad if those two would jump on me right as I cross this ridge. But there is nobody here. Did those guys abandon the flank? Well, the LTTB has already been spotted with the heavies, which is an interesting decision. And the T-20 is nowhere to be seen as well, so it seems that this flank now is completely empty. First is first then, let's clear the middle. T-43 sideways on. Oh, nom nom nom. That was a really juicy roll as well. Oh, and the T-20 is indeed spotted in the middle, so that means there is nobody that could threaten us at this stage. I'm also outside of his spotting range, and well, it was a badly aimed shot. He was moving backwards. Should have aimed this a little bit more. Come on, don't fluff this. Oh, he gets unspotted for a moment, and I fired the shot, get it a bit rushed, and miss it. How annoying, but third time's the charm. There we go. That's a very low roll, by the way, with 490 average damage. But a hit is a hit. And we are already at 2.5k damage and 4 kills, so overall no complaints really. Now I make an aggressive move here. I want to rip apart those heavies that are already whittled down to half of the, or even lower half. As I see that our heavy is getting a little bit low on health, so let's jump onto them. In the meantime, the T-20 attacks the cap, but it's a 2-on-1 situation, so hopefully the SU can finish him off. Now this was a bad shot. The auto-aim on the KV was definitely not a good idea, and I tried to snipe there the Tiger too, but it bounces off the upper plate as well, so